Audio. This podcast is called Obsessed. Joseph Scrimshaw and his guest get some secrets off their chest. You should listen. It's the best.
Hello and welcome to Obsessed with Joseph Scrimshaw on Feral Audio. I am your host. I am still Joseph Scrimshaw. This is still Feral Audio. I was incredibly tempted to start this podcast with a 4-beat count-in on a cowbell because this week's episode is about one of my favorite topics in the world, drumming. Your world will be thoroughly and precisely rocked as you listen to my guests, the drummers for Motion City Soundtrack and OK Go, Tony Thaxton and Dan Kanopka, pound the mics with their drumming obsession. As always, you'll also hear our co-producer Sarah Meyer interviewing random human beings around Los Angeles and seeing how they feel about drumming. Do they love drummers? Do they hate drummers? Do they have strong opinions about Coldplay? Are they willing to do extended drum solos with their mouths? We will find out. But before we dive deep into the wide world of making music by hitting things with sticks, it's time to answer a listener-submitted question about their personal obsession. I throw out requests for obsessions like this on my Facebook and Twitter, so if you have an obsession that you would like addressed, follow me on the social medias as @Joseph Scrimshaw. Listener Laura Dyer says, I'm obsessed with lemon reamers. Am I in love with efficiency and afraid of scurvy, or should I consider a Jungian interpretation? Now, that is a great question, Laura, and one that frankly required a lot of Googling and made my search history look even more deviant than normal. First, I wanted to make sure that I understood exactly what a lemon reamer is, and it turns out it is a sharp puncturing device on a stick. I discovered this by reading Wikipedia's entry on lemon, or citrus reamers, and frankly, that Wikipedia entry is the most violent thing I have ever read. It reads like the insane Roman Emperor Caligula is describing a fatality in Mortal Kombat. It is horrible and beautiful in its horribleness. Here's a brief excerpt. Grasping the fruit in one hand and the reamer in the other, the user first pierces the exposed flesh of the fruit with the tip of the reamer blade, then grinds out the inside with a twisting wrist motion until nearly all of the juice is extracted. Now that is just terrifying. It is absolutely terrifying. So we know that Laura loves just reaming the crap out of lemons. That's a given. The question is, does she get joy out of the reaming because she craves efficiency, she fears scurvy, or she is being plagued by a manifestation of a primordial Jungian archetype? It's a thing we all wonder. Now, you can prevent scurvy by calmly, peacefully drinking orange juice. You don't have to repeatedly stab a lemon who did nothing to you to prevent some oldie-timey pirate disease. So yes, Laura, I think we do need to look at a Jungian interpretation. Now, because this podcast is really about handing out dangerously incompetent psychoanalysis, I also Googled Jungian archetypes to find out one that matched a love of murdering citrus. According to Wikipedia, Laura, you are either experiencing repressed unconscious memories of an ancestor who was indeed a scurvy-ridden pirate, or your lemon stabbing is an expression of your shadow archetype, the part of your consciousness that craves violence and mayhem. It's like you are Dr. Jekyll, but sometimes in the darkness of night, you become Mr. Hyde, and you get a little thirsty, so you brutally maul a citrus so you can add a little zing to the water from your Brita filter. The Jungian archetype isn't actually making a lot of sense to me, honestly. So I'm gonna go with efficiency after all. Because life is just fucking annoying. There are so many things that should work, that almost work, that could work, but just don't, like autocorrect, or American actors doing British accents, or the United States government. All things that could work, but just life is maddening, so I think it's healthy to enjoy something that just simply fucking works. To grab a lemon and a reamer and say, this lemon is like Time Warner Cable. It claims to provide a service, but it just doesn't work. I can't stab the Time Warner Cable chat window and make it DVR Better Call Saul, but I can stab the living shit out of this lemon, and as God is my witness, I will get my juice. Now, at this point, I am willing to entertain the idea that this has become more about me than about you, Laura. But still, I think that was a great question. Thank you for making me research lemon reamers. And now, on to the plugs. If you enjoy Obsessed, there are two great ways you can support the podcast. First, you can become a backer on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can get access to our monthly patron-only bonus episodes. For more info on that, visit patreon.com/Joseph Scrimshaw. Or you can support all of the artists on the Feral Audio Podcast Collective by shopping at Amazon through our portal. I love doing this plug because I love saying the word portal. Here's how it works. Just visit feralaudio.com, hit the Support Our Artists button, shop at Amazon.com via our portal, and a small percentage of your purchase will go to Feral Audio. So just visit Feral, go through our portal, and buy whatever you need. Pants, headphones, my comedy album Flawfest, a wooden chair, and 10,000 lemon reamers so you can create your own version of the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones. It doesn't matter. Whatever you buy, it will help us out. But for now, sit down behind your imaginary drum set and get ready to air drum along to Tony Thaxton and Dan Kanopka's obsession with drumming. Hello and welcome to Obsessed with me, Joseph Scrimshaw. I'm sitting in my home with two amazing drummers, Tony Thaxton and Dan Kanopka.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Dan, did I get your last name right?
Perfectly.
Excellent, excellent. Can you guys start off by telling people listening a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your drumming history?
Sure. My name is Tony Thaxton. I am once again playing in the band Motion City Soundtrack.
Nice.
I did that for over 11 years. Left a few years ago for several reasons, and now the band is calling it a day. And so they're doing a big farewell tour, and I'm coming back to do that. It just seemed like the thing to do.
Yeah.
But as far as you said drumming history?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically I just kind of have always played. I grew up, my dad played drums, so I was just kind of around it always. He played in a cover band. I would see his cover band a bunch. And yeah, so it came at a very, I don't remember not playing drums.
Cool. How about you, Dan?
I'm Dan Kanopka. I play in the band OK Go. And we've been a band for almost 20 years now.
Wow.
18 years or 19 years, something like that. I've been playing drums for 32 years. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what I've always done.
Yeah.
All the way through, high school and college. I studied under a couple of teachers, but really sort of was self-taught. Actually, Tony, what I consider one of my teachers. There's a couple of drummers that we've toured with that I've actually studied. Like, I watched what they were doing. Tony and Dan Hickey from They Might Be Giants are like huge role models for me. So yeah, I do that, and
That's very nice of you, by the way. I don't.
Oh yeah, totally, for sure, Tony. No joke, absolutely. There are still some parts in Tony's songs that I just don't know how to physically do.
Oh, you can recognize these are the sounds being made by these limbs on these.
No,
parts
I know
of the
it's
set?
him, and I know the part, and I know I've seen him do it, but I cannot.
You can't replicate it.
I
That's
can't
really
replicate
cool.
it at all.
That's really cool.
He's sort of he's so precise and so even. And correct. It's awesome. It's amazing to see. I can't wait to see him play on this tour again.
Yeah. Well, I'm really thrilled that you guys are willing to do this. I am a frustrated drummer in that I played for a little while in high school and college.
Yeah.
And never, not to you guys' level at all. But I loved it, and for a while it was totally my world and obsessed. And then I got busy doing other creative stuff, being a comedian and plays, and I have always over the years tried to work drumming in. I wrote a whole staged musical so I could play the drums.
Oh, wow.
What? Elaborate on more. I want to hear about
Well, I had a
this.
theater company back in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And we're producing a season of shows. And it's I've always kind of wanted to write a musical. And and if it was a rock musical, I could play the drums because it's my company and no one can stop me, and I'm hiring the other musicians. And it was great. It was amazing fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So do you guys remember a moment where you got hooked, where you said, yeah, I'm trying to play the drums, but now it's my life?
For me, it was sort of, like I said, it was just kind of always there. Because, when I was young, I had like really little drums that I could just bang on it. That did just start as me banging on them.
And that's a kindness of your parents, because I think most parents don't want to give their children something to hit that makes noise.
Yeah,
especially if they're getting divorced. If your parents are getting divorced, and the dad buys the kid a drum set on his way out.
Yeah.
Like,
bye.
That's kind of a weird thing to give your son. You're like, all right, I'm not going to live here anymore. Son, here's a 5-piece Ludwig
this
kit.
is your mother.
A gift to you and an
Play
attack
as
on your
much
mother.
as you like.
So were you in the middle of a divorce when you got drums?
No, that's my story. I'm sorry, I interjected. That's my story.
So it just was like, hitting drums, and just like over time, I don't really have a memory of my dad showing me things. I just sort of like picked up on it from watching him.
Okay.
And so eventually over time, the just hitting things turned into actually kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
And that was just the way for a long time. But then that actually kind of came to a stop for a while, because I outgrew my little drums. And then my dad had drums, but his cover band played all the time, literally like every Friday and Saturday. So he never even bothered to set up his drums at home. I don't even think he kept them at the house. So I just kind of didn't play for a while. But then that was when I grew up in Michigan. When I was starting high school, my family moved to Virginia, which it's a great time to move. Right when you're starting high school, perfect time.
Yeah, good time to jump in.
Your parents waited until you were physically the most awkward and say, now we can move.
Yeah. Then we moved to Virginia, and my dad wasn't playing his cover band anymore. So one of the first things when we moved in the new house was set up the drums in the garage. And like, I was new. I didn't have friends or anything. So like, that just kind of like became what I did all the time, was just play drums every day. I would just set up my boombox next to the drums and just play along to CDs. And yeah, that it really like went up several levels at that point.
No, that was just to spend time drumming because you enjoyed it. Was there any sort of, I'm frustrated at school, I'm angry about life, this is cathartic? Or was it just straight, I love the music of it?
I don't think I thought about it that way, but I think maybe it was. Like, I think I just did it because I liked it, but also I think, yeah, there probably was like kind of cathartic in a way.
Yeah, because I really was like, Steve was mean to me in math class. I'm going to go play along to Appetite for Destruction and I'll feel better.
Exactly. Yeah, because I didn't know anybody, and I was pretty miserable for like the first 2.5 years or something that we had moved. I don't know. If I don't know you, I can be pretty quiet and reserved, and so I wasn't good at like making friends for a while. And it was actually, that kind of changed because I started befriending other musicians, and then started doing band in school, and then that made like all the difference.
Oh yeah. Cool. And Dan, you got a pair of children's divorce drums as a child? Is that?
No, I got a proper drum kit. My dad was like looking towards the future, like, the marriage is over, Dan's going to get a real drum set that's going to last him until he's in his 20s.
Had you already expressed interest in drumming?
I do you remember it's Kim Carnes, Betty Davis Eyes? You remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
I remember that song being on the radio and being like, there's that part, it was like, and I remember being like, what is that? My dad's like, well, it's clapping, but it's a percussion, it's part of the drum set. And I was like, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 years old, and I was like, I want to do that.
Wow.
And from 5 to 10, I dabbled in other things. Like I played double bass in the school orchestra. They offered orchestral, string instruments.
Okay.
And then I realized, I was like, I don't really like classical music. And band was available, so I was like, I want to play the drums. And I started playing snare drum in the band.
Oh, cool.
And started taking private lessons. And right around 10 years old, my dad got me a drum set. And that was like pretty intense beginning. And like I was really dedicated to drumming until about 13. And then I sort of lost interest because I got into BMX bike riding.
That's a pretty cool other interest.
It was like, that was kind of what my friends were doing. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, I'm going to sell my drum set for a BMX bike. He's like, no, you're not. Like, it was one of those distinct moments where my dad was like, had to draw the line on me, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. He's like, you're not selling your drum set. And so by 15, I got back into playing drums and then started playing with rock bands in school. And
did your dad have that perspective that you should stick with it because it was a general idea of you should stick with something? Or did he see your future where, like, my kid's going to make money playing drums?
Or did he just want to torture your mom?
I don't think the torture the mom thing was, I think he just didn't think BMX was going to be
a career path?
The one.
Oh, okay.
Like, he was always, he's always been a huge rock and roll fan.
Okay.
And he loved seeing me play the drums. So when I was like, I want to ride ramps. And he was like, no, you're not going to do that. And he sort of let go.
Yeah.
But, he's a huge supporter. I think it's been totally out of my imagination how far being, I can't believe I get to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I think it's unbelievable to him too. But,
and you never have moments where you're like drumming on stage in front of many fans and going, man, I wish I was doing BMX instead.
Never. No. I do think about how cool it would be if I had a bike, but like I professionally, no. Not
professionally,
even
no.
I love the thought of Dan Kanopka, professional BMX.
In this video of OK Go, the drummer looks kind of sad. I wonder what he's thinking about. His lost BMX days. Yeah. My dad said a kind of inspirational quote to me, and he didn't say a lot. And it was about drumming, because my dad was a drummer too, and he played in kind of cover bands in northern Minnesota. And I think he could tell I was drifting around artistically too. And I was like, I think I'm kind of interested in the drums, and then that's a way I could spend time with my dad. And like, he hunkered down in a dad way that he hadn't before. And I could already draw well. It just runs in my family that we can draw well. So I had been doing some drawing, and my dad said, when I was like frustrated first trying to play the drums, he said, you can draw well because you see things better than other people. So in order to play the drums well, you need to hear things better than other people. Do you guys think that was actual good wisdom from my father, or have I just latched onto it because it sounds like it should be wise?
What if we just shit all over it now?
Yeah.
No.
That's bullshit. Your dad's full of crap, Scrimshaw.
How drunk was he?
I mean, I can't say I've ever thought about it that way, but I could see that. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Yeah. There, how's that for
that's
elaborating?
Great. That's the validation I wanted in my dad's wisdom.
I'm gonna roll with that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
What do you guys think does make a good drummer? I mean, beyond technical skill, sort of what's the outlook or what's the approach? I know you were saying that Tony has just like attack and precision. What do you feel like you have as a drummer that makes you a good drummer?
I'll say this about you.
All right. Well,
you're same thing, very solid and just like I don't remember ever seeing you like mess up really or have bad shows. I mean, I'm sure everybody messes up sometimes, but there are some guys that you don't quite know what you're gonna get,
right?
And you always deliver super solid, and your parts are good, because I think, and you're a guy that I think the most important thing is, even though sure it's cool to play fun parts or maybe do something cool, you still need to play for the song,
right?
And he's great at that. Because at the end of the day, it's a song. It's not about you.
Right.
You gotta play for the song. And
I definitely think that way. And I think that I've always been into bands where the drummer isn't necessarily the like, I love the prog rock bands where the drummers fly across the tom-toms and do cool stuff. But really the music that sticks with me is the Beatles and stuff that's like ensemble stuff.
Where they're just totally supporting the song.
Integrated in this, and the feel is great. Like, my whole concern from when I started playing professionally was like, how can I get this to feel better? I want this to feel great. And that's been my whole endeavor. Like, that's my whole thing. I like getting a cool fill to get you from a verse to a chorus. That's a cool idea. And that should feel good too. But really, once you land in that chorus, like, where are all the beats landing? Like, is this going to make people want to dance? That's the ultimate priority of it for me.
Right.
So I guess to answer your question, for it to really matter, for you really have to lay claim over some real estate in doing this, is you have to enjoy the whole music as a whole.
Right.
I don't think that drummers that are like, I'm just into soloing, end up having a fortified experience.
Right.
Drummers that are like, I love the whole package, the bass, the guitar, the play off, the vocal, and the drums. Like, vocals and drums are connected. You know, like the best songs, those things are really connected. Like I have a 4-year-old son, and I'm trying to get him to enjoy music for all its parts.
Cool.
And soloists and stuff are like, oh, that's fine, but I don't think like. Then you start getting in the world of like a Prodigy kind of thing, and like I don't know if that has long-lasting results. I mean, I don't know what I'm getting into, but all I know is that if you really love the music, you can be a great drummer.
Yeah, and I love the idea of when you're sitting behind the drum set saying, is this going to make people want to dance? Because that's just a way to get past all of the technical to like just what's in my soul, what's coming out of my body. Is that going to affect other people inside their bodies is a pretty amazing way to look at it.
Yeah.
Have you guys? Because you're such a passionate dancer.
I am secretly.
Yes, I know this about you.
I'm a secret passionate dancer. Do you have webcams in my home? I danced to your songs a little bit earlier today. Have you guys ever had, speaking of wanting to facilitate the song, to help the song, have you guys ever had a fill or a part where you're like, damn it, I love that, but it doesn't fit, and you try to hold on to it anyway?
I've definitely... I can't think of a specific moment of that. I can think of moments where, on like the last record I played with Motion City in particular, I do remember a song that we played, and I tracked the whole song, and then I was still in there, and I was like, you know what? I was like, have me jump in from second verse into the chorus or something. I was like, I want to try something. This might be way too much, but let's just hear it. And I even like laughed about it. Like I did it, and I was like, that's so ridiculous. And I did it, and then like I
People
hear
went
them,
nuts.
yeah, like I heard them in the control room start laughing, and they were like, yes, like let's keep it. And then, but what was fun about that then is then that kind of then changed the song in that just split moment for a second where it's this ridiculous fill happens, and like everyone, I think the guitars sort of dropped out, and then to make it more ridiculous, the bass was sliding to just this brrr thing. But to make it even more ridiculous, he then tracked his bass and does the brrr, but also had someone standing there to detune his bass so it could go as low as it could. So and the bass just goes super low right as the drums are doing this like most ridiculous drum fill. And so I don't know. I think of moments like that where I thought it was going to be way too much, and then everybody was like, "No, let's make this just kind of this moment now."
That's super cool that the rest of the band and the song would conform to it instead of just going, sit in the back, drummer.
Right, which I was totally ready for that to happen.
Yeah,
so.
we're always ready to kick back. And
have you had
drumming usually has to get done first.
Yeah,
recording sessions, and so for me at least, there's a lot of anxiety. Like the recording light when it comes on, I'm like, oh, like I freeze with. I gotta, this time is money. We're in the studio. It's, how many thousands of dollars a day or a week or whatever. And so I don't ever really get too bold with drum fills.
Okay.
I really hold back. I'm looking around the room going, is that cool? Like, like playing put-a-dome into a chorus is like, was that bold? Okay? Too much? And sometimes, the guys in my band, they're fantastic drummers. I mean, they're fantastic drum programmers. They can really make cool drum parts happen in their computers. There isn't a whole lot of stuff that I can do behind the kit that's going to surprise them. Right. But there was one time I was asked, "Can you do some deluxe moment before the chorus?" And I'm like, is this like a punch in, punch out? They're like, "Yeah, we're going to punch this in." So, and what that means is that like the drum part is laid down, it's recorded, but like that. Those 3 beats or 4 beats before the next section, they just open up the window and the microphones pick up whatever you do. And so I like purposefully just played as much nonsense as possible, like not any regard for time or anything, and just played super fast notes or like purposefully like spun out like something got it, like this guy's on acid all of a sudden. Okay. And it was almost every time it was gold. And the guys were like, what was that? What was that thing you did? I was like, I don't know. I'm just fucking it up. And what's funny is you do that a couple times, and then, in the Pro Tools world, they can nudge things around and make it sound like this like super Vinny Colaiuta drum fill.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, now I have to play it every night on tour.
Yeah, that's the worst. Is when you're like, why did I do this to myself? I have a few of those. Yeah.
It's only happened a couple times.
I should not have installed that one tom behind me for effect.
Can I ask what song that was?
It happened in the song "In the Glass."
Okay.
It's like the last song on "Of the Blue Color of the Sky,"
Cool.
and it's a super long song, but we ran out of like good drum fills, and like punch in something cool.
That's awesome.
I need to give that a listen.
What was
again.
your song that you altered with your amazing absurd fill?
It's a song. It's called "Alcoholize." It's actually a bonus track, so it's not on like the regular version of Go, but it's on. If you like, I think if you get it on iTunes or something, it'd just be on.
Yeah,
there.
these songs weren't the singles.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you guys kind of how you feel about drummer jokes and stereotypes. Like, you guys are both in successful bands, you're musicians, but I think especially for like cover bands or like high school, college, just screwing around bands, there's so many stereotypes about like the joke that the drummer isn't really a musician, or the drummer is the last one who's ever going to meet a woman or a guy by playing drums, or that, you know, drummers, you can always find them at their girlfriend's house because they can't pay for their own rent. Right. All those drummer stereotypes. How do you guys feel about those? Have they ever intersected with your life? Do they piss you off? How do you feel about it?
I don't think they've ever intersected with my life. I don't know. I just sort of blow them off because I feel like I just generally don't find them funny. It's not. It has nothing to do with the fact that they're about drummers. I'm just like, that's just not clever or anything. Just like you're just like saying a dumb thing. So I just sort of blow them off. I think
an old wives' tale with a punchline.
Right.
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion about them either. I mean, a certain amount of, you know, what's the phrase? Like the guy has a response, like who wears the crown has the heavy head or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You know that
yeah, term, he who wears the crown has a heavy
sore
head
neck or something. Like I don't like when those kind of like big decisions came out. I was always glad to be like, oh, I'm here for till 8:00 and then I'm out because you guys are gonna do guitars. Like I've been like, yeah, I'm not the smart dude. You guys deal with the hook and the guitar riff, and I'm just gonna play this really groovy thing that services your song. And so like maybe you know, being older, like those jokes are just kind of like, huh, yeah, like I'm kind of the smart one. Like I'm not the one that has to sing like ooh baby. Like, you're the one who's gonna get your head chopped off by rollingstone.com.
Do you guys think that drummers can or ever should be the front person of a band? Like, you guys clearly both have a perspective of, I'm there to support the whole song, and as long as I'm a part of the song, I'm making it happen, that's great. I don't know if you guys have ever had a desire to be like, why can't the drums be in front, damn it? Or maybe I can sing on this song. So either personally or just in the big picture, what do you think of drums up front?
I never had a personal desire to be the front guy.
Okay.
But I also sort of recognize that in terms of the sound, like in pop rock sound, you know, the drums are ever present.
Right.
It's always been described to me as like, this is the backbone of the music. And so I kind of felt like, and you know, that there's that saying, it's like, if the band is only as good as the drummer is. And so like, I've never felt like, oh man, that guy's not getting his. Like if the band is good and it sounds great, like it kind of seems like that's the obvious thing. Like, yeah, he's the star. Yeah. In a weird way. Like that's the guy.
Like everything will fall apart. Yeah.
Everything hinges on where his 2 and 4 is, you know, and like how he feels is how everything else is going to feel. And I mean, you know, it gets weird when you start talking about, you know, this super micro edited Pro Tools world where nothing is genuine or nothing is authentic.
Yeah.
The drummer is, you know, he may not be in the spotlight or with the microphone, but like if he's terrible, then the whole thing is terrible.
Terrible.
So,
yeah. It can make or break a band.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever wanted to be the front person, or is it just not in your personality?
I can't say I ever really wanted it. I briefly had a band where I sort of was, but
Tony's
I was playing
guitar.
Tony's
a great singer.
Yeah.
Tony's a really good singer.
Stop, you guys.
I watched a live YouTube video where you were doing backup singing, and that's part of the reason this question popped in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it is tricky with drums, I feel like, for multiple reasons, because I think, one, I hit very hard and I'm very loud, so I think like then giving me a mic then makes it difficult for the sound man.
Yeah.
Because then on top of that, like when I do have parts that I have to sing, like a lot of times you're like pretty out of breath a lot of the time, so it does make it a little tricky sometimes. So yeah, I don't necessarily have a desire to be, no.
If you guys could have like a drink and a sit down with any drummer, living or dead, and just chat with them, who would you want to sit down with?
John Bonham for me.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it because he is the quintessential sort of drum guy?
I think he kind of is. Every couple of months or whatever, I'll just always come back to Led Zeppelin and just be like floored.
Yeah.
Just can't believe. It's just classic, timeless, never out of style. Always feels better than anything else going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would love to talk to him.
What kind of stuff would you want to ask him about?
I think I would want to hear his, like, from what I've read, he was really into like Motown and soul music.
Okay.
And I think I would like to know what he loves about that stuff.
Okay.
Because whatever lens he was looking at that, and then, the prism, that light goes through him and it turns into the best rock and roll ever.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what is it? Is it, is it the vocalist? Are you listening to the way the vocals are swinging? Are you listening to the drums? Like, what is it about that stuff? And how does that come out this way for you? Because I don't know. Do you think he's sort of the quintessential rock, like 2/4 guy?
Yeah.
Like, it's just
feels
like
amazing.
It feels amazing, and it's just like he was the kind of the originator of that feel.
Yeah, I think the mix of the bluesiness, the sort of swinginess of it, the speed, and then also to what you were talking about with some songs he totally supports, but most songs he does some insane fills and parts, and they still feel like a part. Mm-hmm. I don't know, when I listened to Led Zeppelin, especially when I was a younger man and wanting to play the drums, I felt like there's a band that respects the drummer.
Oh yeah.
Like that you are truly a part of this band, that you are not just in the background. Would you want to have a drink with him as well, or would you have someone else?
That's a pretty good answer. I don't know. Also, side note, I'll say I think "Fool in the Rain" is like the greatest feeling song of all time.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah. That is a good answer. I think my problem is, like, for as much as I've played drums and that I do like playing drums, I don't really like nerd out about it all that much.
Okay. I
kind of more like doing it than like sitting down and be like, so what is, like, I don't know. I'm just not that, so like,
you don't want to push your nerd glasses up about drumming. You just want to do it and have the fun.
Yeah. So like, there's part of me is like, I don't know. I feel like I would just want to do it with like Dave Grohl, but for like the reason of he just seems fun. But,
like he seems like a good guy to have a drink with, regardless of whether you speak about drumming.
Right. Yeah. So like, part of me wants to say that, but then like that is a great answer, and I don't know. My other thought would be like Stuart Copeland.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was one of those guys that changed drumming, I think.
Oh, for
and
sure.
Definitely had his own thing going on. I think the only main like specific question I would want to ask him is, how the hell did you hit that hard playing traditional grip?
Yeah.
Which for people listening doesn't know what that means. Sometimes you see most guys hold their sticks the same way.
Like in the forward way, yeah.
Yes, but then traditional grip is when you see like your right hand holds it that way, but then the left hand is like two fingers over. Like you see like old marching guy, like in Civil War drummers playing that way. So that's like
the way French people use forks.
Right.
It's French fork style drumming.
Yes. And do you play that way ever? Are you comfortable playing like that?
I do play that way, but only in a studio setting when I am actually urged to play super quiet, because I have no power.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It's really hard.
And he hit so hard and he played like that, and I don't understand how he did it.
Seriously.
It seems somehow like your strength would maybe have to come from your elbow, which doesn't seem right, because the elbow is not a muscular part of the arm, in my experience.
And you want your speed comes from your wrists, really. So like, I don't get it.
Speaking of hitting things hard, I was going to ask you guys, what do you think of Dave Grohl in Nirvana?
I love him because that was like prime era of music for me. Like, being in high school when that came out, and that was like one of those things that I played along to all the time when Nevermind came out, and like he doesn't necessarily like blow my mind with parts that he writes or anything, but he's just one of those guys that's like really solid, and he's just like the perfect combination for me of plays for the songs and hits really hard and is fun to watch.
Really, really hard. Yeah.
Because I don't like wimpy drummers. Wimpy drummers bug me.
You know, can I say one thing? About 2 weeks ago,
I was just gonna say because
I gotta mention this
because I haven't got to talk
please.
to you about this since it happened.
My 4-year-old son goes to nursing school. Dave Grohl's kids went there, and so every year they have a fundraiser, and basically the Foo Fighters play for the fundraiser.
Oh, wow.
It's not everybody in the Foo Fighters, and they don't play any Foo Fighters songs. They play cover songs. And we went to this fundraiser about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and my wife went up to Taylor Hawkins and was like, "Do you guys want a real super group?" She said that. And he's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "You should let my husband Dan play drums." And so he came up to me and he's like, "Here's a set list, pick a song." And they were all just the names of the song. And I was like, I don't know what.
Had you met Mr. Grohl before?
I met Mr. Grohl once at 2 years prior at another fundraiser.
Okay.
And
He came up to you, or Taylor came up to you?
no. I went up 2 years ago. I went up to Dave Grohl.
Okay.
And I introduced myself, and it was like within seconds, he was like an old friend.
Oh, wow.
He's a super
Yeah,
nice
I met him
guy.
once
Yeah.
a long time ago, and same way. Like, he could not have been nicer.
Yeah.
I've never heard a bad word about him.
Within 3 seconds, we were talking about what it's like to tour in a van with a broken down trailer, and like it was like super personal.
Yeah.
guy. So 2 weeks ago, Taylor comes up to me. He's like, "What song do you want to play?" And I was like, "I don't know any of these songs." He's like, "Well, think about it and get back to me. You got 10 minutes to figure out we're going to go on 10 minutes." And so I picked out a song from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I'm now forgetting the name of the song.
Did you do breakdown?
Yeah.
I
Nice.
said I know, but you
Yeah,
don't.
no, I'm partly nervous. It was breakdown. So I was like, I know that one. I know that's going to be simple. And so he's like, "All right, sounds good. You're on for that." And so I went into the parking lot and listened to the song on my phone a couple of times.
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, this is really pretty easy. I can do this." And I went and played with Dave Grohl, him fronting
Oh, wow.
his cover band that night. So I
That's
got to
awesome.
play with him
That's pretty
on
amazing.
drums, and it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
exhilarating.
And did you try to throw in a surprise fill?
No. I played a really simple stuff.
Really simple, nice,
and
straightforward
I
stuff.
was like really a heads up game, like,
Okay.
all right, where are we going to the next chorus? Blah, blah, blah. You know, like really
Yeah.
trying to. I didn't want to
Fully in the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
really, really
Oh, wow.
present.
Yeah,
So-
that's.
I would have loved to have been there.
It was awesome.
That's really great.
It was cool.
I was also going to ask you guys about the theatricality of drumming. How much of a physical performance do you think it should be? Do you like stick twirling? Is that ostentatious? How do you feel about the live performance of it?
For me, again, like I like guys that hit hard. Like,
Yeah.
because I feel like if you one, it just sounds better a lot of the time to me. Depending on the band.
Right.
Like, obviously, if it's a really like
It's a light
quietly-
jazz band, yeah.
I don't want to see James Taylor's drummer wailing back
Gonna
there.
fucking smash these brushes.
But I don't know. There's something about watching a guy that hits hard that just like automatically is more fun to watch. You
Right.
know? Just guys that like hit hard and just kind of like get in. Like I don't necessarily care about stick twirling and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I do. And if you're fun to watch, then that's more enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
Than how's that
Yeah.
for a sentence?
Yeah.
Right.
It's great. You look super into it. You look like you're in your own world and really having fun in a good way.
I try to, because I think I try to think about that as like, well, okay, these people they paid money to be here, so let's try and give a show.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, and there's times like, you have nights that you don't really feel like playing.
Yeah.
And you got to just kind of remind yourself, yeah, these people came to see us, and that's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Pretty
cool.
crazy.
So I always try to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Dan, how do you feel about theatricality?
I'm not super impressed by stick twirling or guys doing crazy tricks or like hitting cymbals from beneath and like
Yeah.
that kind of like there's some things that are like, okay, like I get why you did that, it looks kind of silly, but personally for me, Tony comes up from a school of showmanship that was like, you were in the league with a bunch of guys that were crazy awesome to watch. Like you do like a lot of active, explosive drumming.
Yeah.
And my thing was very like I was trying to channel like Jim Keltner. Like, there was the singles and stuff that were pretty active sounding rock.
Yeah.
tunes, but for the most part, I was just like, I'm going to try to make this sound exactly like the record.
Okay.
And 70% of those songs, I was urged to play even quieter than.
Oh,
like,
really?
It was like, yeah, because the whole idea was to get the microphones in the rooms, the compressors to work. Like, it was a production thing. It was
Okay.
like, can you play quieter? And like the cymbals are too loud. And so I never got into getting the visual, like the visual thing didn't really matter to me that much. I was like, how can I, like, I even considered getting those glass walls around the drums.
Wow.
Have you seen those, like,
Yeah.
on like the Tonight Show or whatever? Like the drummers are, what's that weird glass thing?
Yeah.
Like,
who wants to shoot the drummer? Why does
right,
he need? Yeah.
exactly. He's the Pope guy. But like, because I wanted to get the microphones the benefit of the no bleed of the other drums. That was my whole thing. Like, stick twirling didn't even come into the picture. In
Okay.
fact, half the time I'm in the dark. Like the last tour, I'm literally behind it like a huge drape.
Oh man,
no one even sees me.
I
Like,
would love to see that if you were just twirling like crazy in the dark, and just for the benefit of yourself. No one can see it. Like, it's a break, time to twirl. That's great.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. If you give me, I would rather have a great drummer that's boring to watch than a shitty drummer that's fun to watch. Like,
Yeah.
like want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
Like, still play your instrument well.
absolutely.
Do you guys feel like there's too much or too little cowbell in modern drumming?
Oh god.
Oh no, I go ahead.
All right, my answer is there's too much sampled programmed cowbell.
Okay.
If there was more like actually played cowbell, I'm pro played cowbell, but like the programmed cowbell sound that happens in rock, like I don't want that. I want like somebody that really knows how to play cowbell. Like there should be more
who
of
is
that.
choosing to hit it from a specific angle so it makes a specific sound in that moment.
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%.
Yes, just if the song calls for it, by all means do it. I've done it a few times. I do sort of get excited to if it's like
you have a cowbell opportunity
would work here. I think we should do cowbell. And it's one of those things I always expect everybody to like, really, but it's usually worked out all right. But I will say, stop yelling more cowbell.
Yeah,
let's move on.
It's over. It's over. It's been like at least a decade since that sketch, if not more.
There's no take backs with cowbell. You can't screw up the cowbell because it's a laser of sound, and if you hit it like wrong, it really. Like it's just like, okay, that's there.
Yeah, it's
it's
a murdered goose sound.
You just did it, and that's wrong. So there's a couple of songs where we had cowbell parts that were overdubbed in the studio, and I had to learn how to play the drum part with a cowbell. And I don't do a whole lot of like rehearsing on my own before a tour, but for this song, I was like, I gotta get this right, because if you hit it just a little bit off. Like, oh man, the cowbell sounds like it like makes more of a duck sound, like if it's not right, it's so bad. You're like, oh god, play it right.
I love the duck bell in that song. It's great. It's killer. Do you guys have a favorite representation in pop culture of drummers, like a drummer character in movies or TV shows that you're like, that's a drummer?
That's a good question. Because normally I'm annoyed by it. Because I think there's too many movies that I would not even just drums, with all instruments, where they just hire somebody like, oh, just pretend. And it's so bad. Like, man, I don't know when the last time you guys saw La Bamba, but that has the worst fake playing I've ever seen. I don't know about the drum, but Lou Diamond Phillips, terrible fake guitar player.
Yeah.
What I will say, That Thing You Do.
Okay.
Great, because Tom Hanks directed that, and he made all those guys learn how to play the instruments. So they're not, what you're hearing is not them, but they're playing drums, bass, guitar. They're all playing the parts, and it's done. I don't think I've seen a movie pull it off that perfectly, like down to like everything's edited perfectly. Just like, that movie nails it.
No cymbal strikes without a cymbal noise, that kind of thing. And
they do a cool thing too in that movie where, you hear the song That Thing You Do several times throughout the movie, and it's always them playing it live, or usually them playing it live in the movie. I used air quotes for the listener.
Very theatrical.
It's not always the same version you hear. So like even down to like he's playing different drum fills, and then they'll cut to him and he's playing that fill that you hear, and like that's I can't think of another movie that has done that. It's just like, oh, here's this song, we'll just use that version over and over.
Yeah.
And that movie nailed it.
Cool. Cool. How about you? Are there any characters or any music in movies where you're like, that's great?
Well, this is funny. That particular issue of like, was the drummer matching what's getting, like it was being filmed. OK Go was asked to be, we were playing a wedding band.
Oh, okay.
It was I Love You Man, right?
Yeah, I Love You Man. And part of the story was like one of the main character was hung up on Rush. And so we had to play Limelight.
Okay.
And so I had to learn how to play that Rush song. And I didn't know. It was like, all right, you got to learn this song. And I was like, what part of the song are we going to learn? Like, what are we playing like in the song? Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. So
Don't worry about it.
I was like, this is really like, this is a movie.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be like, people are going to have the DVD of this. This isn't just like.
I think I do.
Yeah, you probably do. And so the part, there's a part in the film, and it's actually now I don't even think it's actually in the film. It's like one of those bits that happens after the credits or in the credits. But like halfway, it was like a whole day of filming this 3 or 5 minute part of the movie. It took all day.
Yeah.
And like, it was just so much sitting there pretending to play along a song that I like kind of like, I just let go of trying to be accurate. And I was just like, I had thought about that. I was like, some kid is going to go, that OK Go guy is such a chump fraud. What a joke. So I was like, I'm never going to get this right. But I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of love inaccurate drumming. Sometimes it annoys me, but sometimes it fascinates me, like slow-mo and old MTV videos. Like, no! And I did a play reading. I forgot about this. This is my most recent getting a chance to drum. Somebody had written a play about 2 war veterans from the Iraq War who connected over their love of early Metallica. And for this live reading, they're like, okay, well, we're going to get a drummer to like play these Metallica drum parts in the background. Like, oh, Scrimshaw, you're a theater guy, you're a drummer, come in and do this. And then this often happens in play readings where people have just no idea of how the physical reality of life still holds true to plays. They're not movies. You cannot manipulate it. So it had all these parts of like, play the beginning of Ride the Lightning, but then fade out. And we're going to have these vocals over. Yeah. And like, that's not how drums work. And they're like, don't worry, we have an electronic drum kit. And it's like,
right. Okay. Even more off the mark.
Okay. So the first time they did it, like I tried to talk to them about it and they weren't having it. And then the first time we ran it, I was like, okay. So like, they got somebody to like fade the actual electronic part of the drum, so then it was just on the
yeah, you still get some sound there.
Ugly, unfortunate sounds in the world on an electronic drum set. My last question in this section for you guys is a ridiculous one. Do you think Batman would be good at playing the drums?
I'm gonna go no, because he's too busy. He's got all those gadgets he's developing. He doesn't have time to practice.
Right. Okay, he doesn't have time to practice.
Yeah.
Concerned about the ears. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Does his ears?
I mean, maybe he could build some in-ears inside
monitors
the
yeah, for sure.
That's all I got for Batman.
If Batman had in-ear monitors, he'd be a great drummer.
Probably be okay.
Otherwise, terrible.
Do you have a favorite drummer?
Dave Grohl, Brant Bjork.
John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite drummer?
No, I don't even know drummer. The drummer of Coldplay band is my favorite.
I really like the drummer from Rush, and I really like the drummer from Tool.
Do you think drummers are musicians?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think drummers are musicians?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So you have friends that are drummers. What are they like?
Most of them are long hair, and they're very enthusiastic to not just about the music, but towards everything. They keep their passion towards everything.
What would rock music be like if there were no drummers?
Silent. That's all I can say.
Maybe boring.
What would rock music be like without drummers?
Bluegrass.
Would you rather watch someone play air guitar or air drums?
None. They should play real instruments.
Neither. It's both stupid. It is. It's stupid.
Should modern music have more or less cowbell?
Oh, I don't know. Depends if it goes with a song.
More cowbell. Why not? It's just a little, I mean, it cuts through the guitar, it cuts through the bass.
Can you try to make a drumming sound right now with your mouth?
Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Okay.
Boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom, tss, boom, boom, tss.
Oh, come on.
Bang, bop. I'm Australian. I don't know anything.
We're going to move on to our How Obsessed Are You questions. We'll start with you, Tony. Do you think about drumming every day?
I want to say probably not, but at the same time, I think that I probably do without realizing it.
Yeah.
Because I think I'll maybe just kind of even like walk around like air drumming things sometimes, and then I don't really realize I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I think on that level, yes.
Cool. How about you, Dan? Do you think about it every day?
You know, I don't think about drumming every day, but as a producer now, like I do make other music with just with other friends and stuff, and I'm doing more like synthesizers and piano stuff and like that.
Cool.
And sort of in a realm of programming drums. And whenever I want to make the music actually sound like legitimate, I have to play something, like tap on the keyboard like a drumming part. Otherwise, it's just moving a bunch of like MIDI notes or like samples around. And
right.
It's not real drumming.
Right. It doesn't connect to your soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so at those moments, I'm like, oh, drummer shoes. Okay. How am I going to do this? And like, it's amazing how much faster the music gets made if I can just for a little.
Okay, cool.
In fact, you lent me your V drum. I use that all the time.
Oh, really?
I don't know what a V drum is.
It's electronic drum.
Okay.
It's like a trigger, and I plug it into a little drum brain. It goes straight into the computer. And if like I'm working on music and I'm getting from one section to the next, and I need something to sort of get us there, rather than programming it in, I'll just play it like a little snare pattern on the pad, and it's like done.
That's really, really cool. Tony, would you get a drumming-based tattoo?
Nope.
You're just not a tattoo guy, right?
No, I have no tattoos. I have no desire because I know how I can be, and I would end up regretting it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and also,
good.
even right now, I don't want it to begin with. So
right. That's some good self-knowledge.
Yeah.
How about you? Would you get a drumming-based tattoo?
No drummer tattoo.
And you're not a tattoo guy either, right?
I have a tattoo.
Oh, okay.
Coincidentally, his old band, Jesse, the keyboard player in Motion City soundtrack, he asked me, he's like, why doesn't anyone in OK Go have like a big tattoo? And I was like, well, I don't know. And this was 10 years,
10 years ago. I think exactly 10 years ago.
And he's like, well, do you ever think about getting a tattoo? And I'm like, well, I was always, I was a bartender for 6 years, and I always had this pet idea of getting a cocktail sword tattoo. Nice. And he's like, if I get one, will you get one? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so one day I showed up at the venue, and he's like, I got lamb. He's like, I've got, what's the word? Like, like this is the actual picture of the one I want. And I picked out the tattoo artist. We're going to go tonight. And here it is.
Oh, wow.
There it is. Actual size. And so
that's the only one you have, right?
That's the only one I have. And Jesse's got one too. So,
that's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. Tony, would you start a conversation with a random stranger about drumming?
Most likely not.
No.
You could probably end that question with, would you start a conversation with a random stranger?
And it would be
probably not. Probably not.
This is wild fantasy. Imagine you were somewhere out in public and you saw someone air drumming, and you realized they were playing one of your songs, one of your fills. If you could recognize your own fill via air drumming, would you go up to that person and say, thanks for appreciating me?
I still don't know that I would. I think I would feel real weird about it. I've actually been in, like, not that exact scenario, but I remember I was at the San Francisco Zoo once, and I was standing looking at monkeys or whatever I was doing, and literally the person next to me, their phone starts ringing, and their ringtone was a Motion City song.
Wow!
And we like my friends that I was with, like they kind of like lit up and looked at me, and we all kind of started laughing, and we just walked away. No, I just feel I no.
Yeah, that would be weird to just lean over from the monkeys and go, "You're welcome."
I just
your ringtone.
I just start air drumming too.
I just started playing music in your pants, and then you pulled out the phone. Yeah. How about you? Would you talk to a random stranger about drumming?
Well, They took one of the OK Go songs and put it in Rock Band.
Oh, wow.
You know, the game?
Yeah.
And I can't, the most easiest setting, can't play it. Failed within seconds.
It's weird. Like, I'm
It's weird.
terrible at Rock Band drums.
It's not real drumming
Yeah.
at all, even on the like most difficult setting, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like ballpark kind of, but it's like, yeah, if your brain is just used to like the way drums are, trying to do that, it's not easy.
This is really hard. And so like I've gone to like family parties like around Christmas time, and like the kids that like the distant cousins that don't really know, they're like, "Where's your treadmill, cousin?" You know, like that kind of stuff. Like, and then Rock Band is going, and they want me to play the song to play it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
nope.
I'm not going to do it. And they're like, "Come on, it's easy." And so they're playing. And I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't. I just like, yeah.
Does it make you angry trying to do it?
No, I think I did once get really angry, and then I've never done. I was like, no, I won't do it again.
Anytime I would try to do drums, I would just end up getting pissed off, and I was like, nope, I can't. I gotta stop.
Yeah.
Gotta stop.
It's such a ridiculous. There's like dots flying down. You're like, this is a joke. Like, bonk, bonk, bonk.
Yeah,
like,
talk about taking the soul out of it. Yeah,
like
yeah. You know what I really want most as a musician is to have the green thing go off at the right time. Like, no. Yeah, it pisses me off so much. If the government tried to ban drumming, Tony, would you join a pro-drumming rebellion?
It might depend on the point of my life I was in.
Yeah.
Because for a while, yes, I would have. And then the last few years, I maybe wouldn't have. I was going through some stuff for a while.
Yeah.
I was very depressed and everything, and I was just kind of like not that interested in drums for a while. So I think of a couple years ago, I might not have.
You would have just let the revolution happen without you.
I don't know, but if it really started to happen, for whatever strange reason that would be, I think maybe deep down I would have something would have clicked eventually. I'm like, no, I got to take a stand here.
Yeah. How about you, Dan? Would you stand up for the rights of drumming?
I guess I would, but you know, what comes to mind is that like that faux support that people give things on Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, would I give it a share and a like? You're like, yeah, sure.
Like, you'd change your profile picture to like orange to support drummers.
Like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, go drummers. Like, you know, that I guess that's my answer.
That's good. It's good. Would either of you cosplay as Animal from the Muppets at San Diego Comic-Con? Would you dress up as Animal from the Muppets and wander the halls?
No, I again, and you know, I went at the time I did the show before. I talked about Jim Henson.
Yeah.
And actually, thanks to Dan, I met Animal.
Oh, you were the hookup. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a cosplay guy.
You're not a cosplay guy. Understandable. Would you dress up as Animal from the Muppets?
No, I don't even know that whole question. I don't know what that means. No, I wouldn't do it.
Just the people that dress up at Comic-Con and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, they dress up as their favorite characters.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. Would you dress up as John Bonham? Because people at Comic-Con probably just wouldn't know who that was, but you would know in your heart that I'm dressed as John Bonham.
Like a Halloween costume for sure. Yeah, I'd do John Bonham. I think I actually had done John Bonham as a Halloween costume.
You dressed up as John?
Well, it was a hippie.
Okay.
I had like the, you know, the silk shirt and the bandana and the long wig, and I wasn't John Bonham size at the time, but I probably pretended I was John Bonham.
Nice.
My best, 1975 Led Zeppelin look.
Yeah. Awesome. This is the final question, and I warn you, it's very weird, but here we go. If you had to be punched in the crotch before you could play the drums, would you still play the drums?
Every time?
Not like every song, but I'd say every session. Not like every take. I'm like, good Phil, punch again. No, but like you're like, I've got a session or I've got a live show, just one punch and then I go.
I mean that sucks, but I guess so. Because I mean, I have been able to, I got to make a living doing it for a long time. So take that away, and I don't really know what I would have done all those years.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to know what I would have done all those years. So I guess those nut punches happen.
Ask
occasionally.
the question again.
If you had to be punched in the crotch before you could play the drums, would you still play the drums?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'd find out some.
You think you'd find something else? Yeah. You would expand yourself as a human and go, I have a lot of other interests and talents.
I think I might try something different.
Didn't you, am I making this up? I feel like I remember this conversation years ago. Didn't you consider being a chiropractor?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was around...
Still kind of percussive, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pop. Yeah, I think when it was late in high school, I was like, all right, do you want to go into music or sound engineering, or how about chiropractic? And so, like, yeah, it was like,
wow,
I love getting adjustments. Like, I like that. I think it's cool. And I've never had like terrible back problems, but like when I have, I just see a chiropractor and like he fixed me up. So like I thought it was kind of cool. My uncle was a chiropractor.
Oh, that's great.
And I heard that they made a lot of money. I don't know if they really do, but
no offense, I'm glad that you've had the success you've had, but I kind of wish that you were a chiropractor because I'd be over at your house all the time.
I ask this question a lot, and this might be my favorite answer, that some being would come to you and say, I have to punch you in the crotch before you can drum. And you'd say, no thanks, I'm going to be a chiropractor. Thanks, but no, I'm out. I ask people to make a noise to sum up their session. Can you each make a noise to sum up your love of drumming?
I'm going to go, brrta. Because that actually was always a that's a certain fill that I call the brrta.
That's kind of nice. Well, you know, I'm gonna
nice.
I don't have a sound, but I have something that works with that.
Okay.
I forgot who said this the first time, but if you're at a loss for a drum fill, just think of famous people's names and play those names on the drum set. And Bette Midler is one of the best ones. Bette Midler. It's kind of but Bette Midler. You know, any word, anything like, I don't know, alligator. It doesn't really make for a very good fill, but when you start thinking of words that way.
Pestilence.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it works. Yeah.
Jupiter.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever. You know, like, I don't know. That was just something I was like, Bette Midler was really good.
Bette Midler's great.
Bette
But
Midler.
that's really percussive.
Tying it all in, the ridiculous fill that I was talking about earlier, I believe starts with some Bette Midlers.
Nice.
I'm not even kidding.
Nice. So we can look for the song Alcohol Eyes to hear your Bette Midler. Nice. I've been rating people's obsession. This is new since you were last on the podcast. I think you guys are at about the same level. I quantify it. The quantifying item is going to be cowbells. So out of 7 cowbells, I think you guys are both at about 4 cowbells. Because
as far as
how obsessed you are.
Yeah,
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's
3 3/4 cowbell.
You're good. I almost said Star Trek. Star Search.
Yeah, I love the 3 3/4.
3 3/4.
3 3/4 stars.
3 3/4 cowbell. Yeah, because it seems like obviously it's a huge part of your life.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Big part of your life, but you guys have your limits and you have other interests.
Yeah, I'm totally fine not playing drums for a while.
Yeah,
like,
which you did when you first got here to LA. You did all sorts of other cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And you have a chiropractor that you can always
Well,
get.
if Cohen, my son, becomes a drummer, I'm going to hit 7 bells.
Okay.
For sure.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. There was, this is, you know, I think he was maybe 9 months old. We got him a little toy kit from the middle of the mall, right? And he kind of blazed through that thing, and I was like, I had a glass of wine, and I was just like, oh no, you're gonna keep doing this. I went and got my drum set from downstairs, and I put it up there.
Oh, really?
And from 9 months to about a year and a half, he could play "We Will Rock You." He understood, you know, a lot of drum parts, and actually had like a groove and a swing.
Yeah.
And I was on fire. I was like, this is the greatest thing. But then it kind of fell off. Like drums fell out. Like
for him, he was just like, I'm not.
He's just like he didn't want to see me play. He didn't want to play for anybody. And he still hasn't come back. He's starting to like music now again, but like it really fell off.
I didn't know it had fallen off.
Oh yeah.
So you're just waiting in the shadows like Batman, just in case.
Exactly. And if he gets into it, oh man, I'm jumping on it.
Then it's everything. Then it's 7 cowbells. Nice. I know you have a tour coming up to plug. Anything else that you want to plug? Tell people where they can find you on social media and any stuff you want to plug.
Just at Tony Thaxton on Twitter, Instagram, and TonyThaxton.com has all the nonsense that I do on there. But yeah, Motion City Soundtrack Farewell Tour starts in May in several legs, kind of going all the way through September. Which
really?
It's lots of short legs, so it's not one big chunk. Wow, thankfully.
And where do we get tickets if you want to go?
I just MotionCitySoundtrack.com will have all the
Nice.
links there.
Anything you want to plug? Are you a social media guy? Can people find you on there?
OK Go is sort of taking a little pause for a good portion of this year. But Tim and I, the bass player in OK Go, have a side project called Jaja Technique. And we make electronic dance music. I don't like to call it EDM because that just sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But it's like more, it's dance music. And we make it on our computers. And it's really just about having fun and just doing stuff. So check it out. Jaja is XIA
Cool.
Technique. And yeah, we have a Facebook thing and
Cool.
And a Twitter and all that stuff.
Well, that's awesome. So here are the closing questions. They don't have anything to do with drumming, but they can if you want. Tony, if you were a pro wrestler, what kind of a pro wrestler shtick would you want to have?
Oh man,
that's good.
I don't know. I mean, I did watch a lot of pro wrestling as a kid, and my guy was the Ultimate Warrior. And so I feel like I would probably just kind of want to copy him because like he was the coolest.
You would want to be the ultimate copy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got nothing creative. I just want to be like him.
Oh, perfect.
Although I don't want to paint my face. I'm going to draw the line at the face paint.
All right, just
I
natural
rub
face.
my eyes too much. It's not going to work.
So you would be totally clean-faced.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I'll keep the beard. That's my version of the face paint.
Yes, nature's face paint. Yeah. The beard. Nice. Dan, if there were a video game based on your life, what would the main challenge of the video game be?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one.
It
I want it to be funny, but it's gonna probably
you can just be honest.
dark.
Be dark.
I guess I don't know. I think I've been thinking a lot about my mom's side of the family. There was a lot of gangsters, like bona fide Chicago gangsters.
Oh, wow.
And I think I would want the video game to be like somehow gangster related, like Chicago mob kind of a thing.
Okay.
That's all I got.
No, that's great. That's great. So it'd be like you reflecting on your family's dark history.
Yeah. Like, Tommy guns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got that theme. I like,
Are you on that side or are you going against them?
No, I'm on that side.
Okay.
So you're a gangster.
I'm a gangster.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So something gangstery, and like in the Al Capone era.
Yeah.
I think I want the game to sort of be like that.
Nice. You run some booze.
Yeah. Like
some
that kind
booze
of
missions. Nice. The final question for everyone on the podcast is, what is happiness? So, Tony, we'll start with you. For you right now, what is happiness?
I will say things are good right now.
Yeah.
I am the happiest I've been in a long time. I just moved. I think I told you this. My girlfriend and I just got a place together, and we have a new place that I'm really, really, really loving.
That's awesome.
Like just the way life is right now, and it's good. And I stepped away from the whole band thing for a while. This farewell tour that's happening, like I said, it just kind of made sense to do it. And I've had enough. I've been away for 3 years, and just like taking this moment to like come back and do this one last time and like have like really nice closure, and like the reaction has been blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So I feel real good right now.
That's
I'm
great.
gonna say happiness is me right now.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's great. Dan, what is happiness for you?
I guess it just sort of exists in the current family dynamic I have with my wife and son.
Okay.
When we're all really authentic with each other and we're all really residing in our true selves, and no one is like feels pressure to be anything but yourself.
Yeah.
That's really there's a crackle in the air. It's like a really authentic moment, and when we have those moments, that's really happiness. And I think anyone listening and all you guys probably understand when it happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a moment when you're authentic and the people around you are being authentic, and that's like there's a flow, and there's nothing about it that's fake. And that's when I'm happiest.
I think that's a great answer. The crackle of authenticity is a really cool way to think about it.
You know when it happens.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like, all the chatter stops and you with the real people next to you.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Thank you guys so much for doing this podcast.
Thanks for having us.
That is our podcast.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Obsessed. Joseph Scrimshaw and his guest shared some stories with the rest. Rate 5 stars if you're impressed.
the drum part from One by Metallica.
Right?